How is your relationship with your family and friends? Do you need any advice? My mother admits she broke up me and my partner. Results. Refresher. My ex and I were together for 3 years. We broke up because our parents, my mom, his dad, were getting engaged and began to make jokes about us being siblings, and publicly humiliated us multiple times by referring to us as siblings who are dating, all of which culminated in a siblings dance to Sweet Home Alabama at their wedding a bit over a week ago, which we refused to participate in, but did result in us getting back together. I later confronted my mother, who admitted that she and my partner's father entered their relationship with the intention of breaking us up because we'd admitted we'd toyed with moving an hour or so away from where we all are now, and they didn't want that. Somewhere along the way their ruse became real for them, resulting in their marriage, but renewed their determination to break us up so people didn't judge them for marrying when their kids are married. Update. My partner got home, I relayed the conversation to him, and he admitted that he'd thought that exact thing for a while and had talked to his dad about it shortly before the wedding, but his dad denied it, and he didn't want to sound bitter or blame our breakup on other people when we only got back together less than 10 days ago. We talked it out and we have a plan. 1. Sorting out something with my partner's sister so he can have a consistent, reliable mode of communication with her. 2. Full no contact with my mother and his father, starting the second we know the sister has a consistent method of communicating with us. 3. Looking at houses several hours away from them, but still close enough that his sister can visit. We do, however, have some issues and hesitations that we were hoping for advice on. His birth mother is toxic in her own right and is unlikely to help facilitate any sort of communication with the sister. His mom also happens to agree that our relationship is disgusting, although we're pretty sure this isn't because of the step-sibling thing. I'm Jewish, she's not a fan, but that's a rant for another day. We're unsure how no contact would work. We don't have grounds for a restraining order and it's not possible to just disappear. And my mom has actually tracked me down before because I missed a couple of calls from her. Most of my family I can take or leave, but there's a cousin and a great aunt I'd miss and I can't really stay in touch with them, but not mom. Same goes for my boyfriend and a couple of his relatives. Aside from that, thanks, everyone, for all the great advice I have received. We went through it together and there was a lot of great advice, a lot of which we're putting into effect. Am I the unreasonable one for telling my husband that I'm tired of feeding his mother? Brief backstory is my mother-in-law has been a widow for about 4 years now. She is 50, and in great health. Once she became a widow she has turned into the biggest mooch. I swear this woman should teach a class how to mooch. She has been given free trips all around the world, NYC, Vegas, Newfoundland, Chicago, to name a few. She also has completely stopped buying groceries. She either eats out or weasels her way into free meals at people's houses. For the last 4 years she arranges visits to see the grandchildren around mealtimes in order to get a free meal. She has never visited her grandchildren unless it's a meal involved in the last 4 years. Sometimes she comes about an hour before a meal, eats, then leaves to go to another function, which leads me to believe she only came for the food, not to see the kids. She's a very picky eater. I've gotten to the point that I'm resenting feeding her. I have started making food I know she dislikes on purpose to deter her, but then my husband gets upset with me. If we order out when she happens to show up for a meal she will have the audacity to place her own special order. Example, we order pizza, but she wants an order of ribs on the side, and you guessed it, never pays a cent. Then to top this all off, the woman expects me to wait on her. She won't even carry a dish to the sink, let alone help me clean up after a meal. Am I the unreasonable one for telling my husband I'm done, and visits need to be placed outside of meal times? He tells me most people wouldn't care as much as I do, and that I'm being unreasonable. Update. This has gotten much more attention than I expected. To answer some common questions. 1. She is financially stable. She has recently purchased a $30,000 SUV as an example. She works less than full-time by choice due to other monthly income flows. She is comfortable in the same lifestyle she had before father-in-law's death. 2. She does not babysit our children as she feels she has already raised her children. She will watch them an hour or two once, and a while though, so there is no real give or take in this situation which has been asked. 3. All over the world. When I mentioned mostly US cities seems to have hit a sore spot for people. Isolated Canadian here. Should have said all over North America, focusing mostly on the USA. Sorry. 4. She is mentally sound. She is not depressed. She obviously misses her spouse, but she's not living in a crippling depression. She uses her adult children for meals as well as her friends, and other family members. 5. Before father-in-law's death they hosted all meals. She would cook. She knows how to cook. She cooks, and hosts 0 meals now. 6. We are paying for our groceries, and take out food when she is here. I'm not sure why I've been asked if I'm paying for it. Yes? My husband and I both work full-time, and have a joint account. We are paying. 7. I'm not in a poor relationship with my husband because I've tried to keep the peace with my widowed mother-in-law, but after 4 years, and visits dwindled to only around a free meal is what brought me here. 8. We have been at her house occasionally when a mealtime approaches. She tells us she has nothing to cook, and she means it. She may have fruit snacks for the kids, but we usually just leave to eat. Thanks for everyone's time on my question. Update. My mother-in-law is demanding a new cell phone. We pay the bill, and this will make our costs go up $100. My mother-in-law is the queen of the mooches. My mother-in-law is a widow for 4 years. She has less money than when father-in-law was around obviously, but she works part-time, misses work for any, and all reasons, literally missing work once for having a bit of a runny nose. She scams trips, meals, groceries, etc. She really should teach a class how to mooch. About half a year ago she cried to her sons, my husband, and his brother, that she is broke. Brother took over her cable bill, and we took over her cell phone bill. Rather than giving her $100 or going to the provider, and paying $100, I added her to our plan as an extra line, which meant we only have to pay $30 for her. I was begrudgingly fine with this. Suddenly she is demanding a new phone. I explained to her that the reason the extra line is so cheap is because she's not signing up for a brand new phone, which would not give us any discount. She has an iPhone 7, and truly it's fine. She hardly uses data, and uses her landline majority of the time for calls. She really uses it to text a few times a day. That's it. Where we live cell phone plans aren't overly cheap, and if she wants a new phone we will be paying $300 a month, which is not happening. We pay $200 now with her line included. I made a few calls, and either she can 1. Get off our account, and pay the $100 a month for a new phone herself. 2. Save $1,200, and pay the phone outright, then we can keep the low monthly payment, and we will continue paying for it. 3. Keep using her perfectly fine iPhone 7, and we can keep the low monthly payment, and we will continue paying for. I refuse to pay $100 a month for her phone. She doesn't do anything for us. She doesn't babysit more than an hour or two every few months as she's done raising kids. She doesn't even cook meals, and makes her 2 sons do potluck for every meal she hosts. God, I have so many stories. Paying this cell phone was really bending over backwards for her, then she demands a new phone? I can't. Also, Canadians have terrible plans, especially us in part of Canadian where I live. We pay through the cheeks for anything. 10 GB shared between my husband, and my phone is $190 a month. When we added her line to share our GB it raised to $220. Her line is only $30 because her phone is not contracted or financed. If she had gotten a new phone it would be $100. Bringing our 3 phones to just shy of $300 a month. We have unlimited calls within Canada, and unlimited text with the 10 gigabytes. So nothing overly fancy. We just get bent over up here for cell plans within little competition between providers keeps the cost up. My internet in my home alone is $90, and it's not even the fastest they offer. Pensive face, link to in description. Dealing with toxic mother-in-law's text. She sent me this text. This is our back and forth. Toxic mother-in-law, you are going to be a bad mother. You're a terrible daughter-in-law. You don't respect where your husband comes from. Me. You should show me the respect I'm due. You wouldn't have dear husband if it wasn't for me. You think you can make decisions for this family, and do what you want? You remember you joined my family, and you need to learn to keep your butt in line. Stay in your place. When I call, and ask for information about whatever you give it, I don't care what my son told you or directed you to do. You joined my family. Therefore you listen to me. And yes, for the record, the last time I spoke to dear husband I called you the next word. You are black. Stop being so damn sensitive. You people are so damn sensitive. I call your dear son-in-law Inc. Does she get bent out of shape? No. But you think you are the head of this family. You are not. I am the head of this family. And you need to show some respect. God forbid something happened to dear husband, who would you turn to then? Me. Who would you need? Me. I respond. Lol, I don't know whether to pity you or use this as proof that you need a psychological evaluation. I would say girl bye, but I don't need to respond. But I want to, so I am. Why not? First of all, you don't know me and I am going to be a kick-butt mom. The best. You know how I know? Because I have had the worst mom, and so has dear husband, and we both know as parents what not to do when raising children by the way the two of you attempted to raise us. As far as showing you the respect you are due, I always have. But you seem to think that everyone bowing down, walking on eggshells, and letting you into areas of our lives, and marriages that you simply don't belong equates respect. It would just make me a doormat. I would be disrespecting myself, and my marriage if I allowed it. It is because dear husband and I respect ourselves is why we have set boundaries. Which this text clearly crosses. You may be the head of your family, however, my husband has pretty much removed himself from that physically, and emotionally, and certainly financially. And as for my place, I do stay in my place right beside my husband. When my husband says don't tell my mom such, and such, I follow that directive because that is my place as his wife. You can call me as many N-words as you like, all it shows is your ignorance, and gives us more of a reason to keep our low away from you. As far as what I would do, God forbid something happened to dear husband, I will be just fine as he has left everything to me, including his trust fund, which you have had no control since he was 25. Sweetie, he's 46. Let it go. What you don't get is we love each other, and realize all we have is each other, and we are okay with that. When I first met you I really did want to make you happy as a daughter-in-law, but as you showed who you are, especially since I've been pregnant, you killed that emotion completely. All this text did was confirm what we have been thinking, that you are certifiable, and we need to cut all ties. And yes, dear husband will see this as well as all sister-in-laws, and brother-in-laws, and any aunts, cousins, etc. Because we are not the only ones who feel you are out of line. But I won't name names. The screenshots of this very conversation will be going up on the Book of Faces, the Graham, and placed as public so all of your country club friends, neighbors, society can see how crazy and racist you are. And after I send you this text you will be blocked, and if I have to we will change our numbers because you should not be around minors, and you will not be around ours. May God be with you because we are not. So that was that. My husband is so mad, he went for a run. I told him he shouldn't be because she can hurt us, and I'm not angry, I'm just emphatic about her not being in our Lowe's life. Having the talk with older kids. Is there anything off limits or lines that shouldn't be crossed? I feel like there is so much information for having the talk with younger kids, but less is out there about these talks with older kids. My kids are 20, 18, and 15. My 20-year-old called me last weekend after a date. She was frustrated that the guy she went out with expected to be intimate after, and was ranting about how annoying it is to find a guy who seems so nice, but when you don't take him back to your room to do it, they ghost you. I was sharing my own stories to try and relate it to her. I didn't get too graphic, but talked about how I experienced the same exact thing, and how pushy some people can be about it. My 18 and 15-year-olds are both boys, and they were around when I was video chatting my daughter, so we talked about it a little after. After some discussion I flat out asked the boys if they were intimately active. The 18-year-old said he was, and the 15-year-old said he wasn't. I figured the older one was. He has been dating his girlfriend since the summer and I know how young romance goes. He said they use protection, and had did it for the first time on Christmas Eve. He offered that information. I didn't ask. I talked to my husband about it later that night. I casually asked if he knew our 18-year-old was actively doing it. He said he figured as much, and asked how I knew for sure. I told him our son told me, and he thought it was a little weird for a boy to be that open with his mother about his intimate life. Am I crossing some line or boundary here? I wouldn't have pressed if my son was uncomfortable, but he offered up details, and didn't seem bothered by the conversation. Are there really some things that should be unmentionables when discussing intimacy with your kids? Should it all be talked about at hypotheticals? My husband and I both grew up in households that never talked about it. He is from a strict premarital, doing it as a sin Catholic family, so I am not sure where the normal line is. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell for more stories delivered to you. Thanks for listening. See you later.